on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well, having a good Friday. It's deadline day, and it's going to be a very, 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 very busy one because I believe, just by the way now, as I'm going live, I think United may have officially just announced a signing, literally as I've just logged on. As I've literally just pressed live, I think we may have an announcement coming very, very shortly. So let's just wait for this one because I'm just seeing things pop up. We'll see what's happening there. Nevertheless, plenty to get into this morning. Of course, we're going to be talking about Sofyan Amrabat. We're going to be talking about Sergio Reguilon as well. Bayindir looks like United are just about to announce him, possibly or they might have just announced him. We'll wait for that one to come through. We've got Here We Go this morning from Romano. We knew he was signing anyway, anything like that. So that one we will talk about. Scott McTominay to Fulham is a possibility. Perhaps Fulham certainly are interested as they're looking for a replacement for Paulinho again because he could be going to Bayern Munich. Seemingly there might be a deal agreed with Bayern, but he's not going to go until Fulham have secured a replacement for him. And also as well, we'll just be chatting about deadline day stuff. But before we get into that, as I mentioned, Manchester United have actually just announced the signing of Bayindir. This is actually breaking news as I'm jumping on right now. So actually I was going to go to, which story is he? That's the third one. There you go. Here we go. He is signed. Manchester United have just announced this in the last couple of seconds, saying that Bayindir has joined Manchester United on a contract running until June 2027 with the option of a further year subject to international clearance. The 25-year-old Turkey international has made 166 career appearances, keeping 53 clean sheets. Last season, he was a key player for Fenerbahce as they won the Turkish Cup and finished second in the Super League in Turkey. Upon signing, Bayindir has said, quote, "It is a huge honour to join Manchester United and become the first Turkish player to represent this incredible club. I have a passion for success and I will give everything to help this special group of players to achieve our ambitions. I cannot wait to start working with such an experienced goalkeeping unit. We will support each other and drive high standards every day so that each of us is ready to perform whenever called upon." John Murto, the Manchester United football director, has said, "Altay is an excellent addition to our squad and adds further quality to our already strong group of experienced goalkeepers. Having consistently performed at a high level in a strong European league, he has the qualities to support us in achieving our ambitions across all competitions this season and beyond." So at 9 a.m. on deadline day, we have our first bit of business. Hopefully, again, it's not going to be the last bit of business that Manchester United do today. Hopefully, we could be looking at, well, likely we're going to be looking at least one more. We know we're going to be signing Sergio Reguilon. He's actually signed his contract. We'll get into that shortly. But the first name of the deadline day that Manchester United have got through the door is none other than the goalkeeper Altay Bayindir from Fenerbahce. Again, we knew this one was going to be happening. We knew this one was, he'd been at Carrington, I think, for sort of 3 days, something like that, doing his medical. He had done a pre-medical as well in Athens because there was some concern over a back issue. But indeed, if you are just joining us, the first signing has been made official today, and that is Altay Bayindir from Fenerbahce. So obviously, we'll get into more details about that as we go through the show, but that's the breaking news right now. And that's actually a picture of him with Erik ten Hag, and he's a big guy, Bayindir. Look, he's the backup goalkeeper. We needed to sign him because Dean Henderson's gone. And we were always in the market for a second goalkeeper this summer. I know certainly it's not really what people are looking for right now. What the one we're looking for is Sofyan Amrabat, and we are going to be talking about that shortly. People don't really care that much about Sergio Reguilon, but we needed an emergency left back as well. So that's kind of where Manchester United are for that. The plan always was, I mean, at one point it was Suzuki. Who else was linked to us? The player from Benfica as well was linked to us as a backup goalkeeper. So the intention always was this summer was to sign 2 goalkeepers. Obviously Andre Onana to replace David De Gea, who left, but also to sign a backup goalkeeper because the intention was always to let go of Dean Henderson. That move went through yesterday, 15 million plus £5 million in add-ons to Crystal Palace. And in addition to that, obviously we saw Kovar also leave too. He went to Bayer Leverkusen. So this was always the intention, to get a backup goalkeeper. Someone was saying to me on X the other day saying about money and stuff like that. You know, we didn't need to sign a backup goalkeeper. We're signing a backup goalkeeper again because Henderson's gone. That was always going to be the plan. So again, that is the latest. Altay Bayindir has been confirmed as the latest signing by Manchester United. And look, potentially he might have a somewhat big role to play later on this season, because Andre Onana seemingly is back in the fold, we think, for Cameroon. He's been called up to the latest national side for the upcoming friendlies. And if indeed he is back in the good graces, or he's worked out and resolved his issues with the Cameroon manager and is going to be playing at AFCON in January, there's a possibility that he could be away from Manchester United for up to 5 weeks. And if that is the case, then Bayindir is going to be playing quite a few games for United, or him or Heaton. It depends who Erik ten Hag's preference is. So this obviously is a backup keeper, but it's a backup goalkeeper that actually might be playing more games than we possibly think come January, particularly when it comes to Andre Onana's seemingly big absence then. But there is still some weirdness surrounding Onana and that Cameroon call-up, to be honest with you, because there's still sort of, yes, he got called up, but there are still sort of murmurings that has he actually, figured things out and resolved issues? I don't know. Nevertheless, if he is back in the good graces, he'll be gone for again about 4 or 5 weeks, possibly, depending on how well they do in the tournament. Which I don't begrudge Andre Onana. I mentioned this the other day on Twitter, well, whatever it's called, stupid social media. And said, I hope United knew about this. That was my only thing. Just, did United know about it? Did they have these conversations with Andre Onana? Was it a case of, early on in the process, you're going to go back to Cameroon? Like, what's the situation with that? Or even in the more recent weeks, what's the situation with Cameroon? Are you going? Are you back? Like, what's happening there? Just let us know, sort of thing. And because if United didn't know, then obviously that's a problem. And some of the responses: how dare you stop him playing for his country? Never said that. just I found it really bad a few years ago when the last AFCON tournament was happening, and some people had the nerve to ask African players if they were going to represent their country. You're going to go and play in AFCON? Of course I am. Of course I'm going to go represent my country. So I'm sure it's something that United would have at the very least considered or discussed, but I still lean to the direction of I still don't understand why we let Kovar go. I know that it might have been a case of he wanted to play first team football, but there's a chance to play first team football this season. Again, this is why I go back to, did United know about the AFCON situation with Onana? Because if they did, you could easily sell to Kovar, hey, yes, you're going to be number 2, but come January, there's going to be a 4 or 5 week period where you'll be playing games. And if you do well, I'll respect your form. Onana will have to work his way back in or what have you. Or, at the very least, because we know you're going to be playing in January for this period of time, hey, let's start you in the Carabao Cup matches. Or I'll agree to start you in FA Cup matches or something like that. I think he deserved a shot. I know people will say, yeah, but he wanted to play first team football. But needs must sometimes. We didn't have any money. So, sort of tough. And you can work something out. And then, even if he did play those games in January, and you played him in the cup matches, if it came to this time next year, where he just goes, look, I know I played a bit last season, but I really, really, really need to play every single game, then you can sell him, but for more money. You can sell him for more money. And because, again, Academy, make more profit. That's the smart thing to do in that instance. But no, we did not. We sold him to Bayer Leverkusen, 7 million. I think there's sell-on clauses and stuff like that. But still, I still think that situation could have been handled a lot better. And honestly, I said I would have kept him. Honestly, I'd have kept him. So, indeed, that's the latest when it comes to Altay Bayindir. The first signing of deadline day for Manchester United confirmed at 9 o'clock is a backup goalkeeper. So there you go. If you haven't already, be sure to click the like button. Already, very early on, we've got over 1,300 people watching, so let's see if we can get those numbers up very, very early. And be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. We passed, you can see it in the top right-hand corner, 151,000 last night, so appreciate everyone that has subscribed as well. What are people saying in the chat? And I'll go back to Amrabat too. Obviously, the orders kind of changed a little bit because the Bayindir signing just happened. But what are people saying in the chat at the moment? A lot of of people talking about Amrabat, saying what's going on with him. We'll let you know in just a second. Luxil says Kovar deserved to play more first-team football than he would get at United, which I do agree, but I still do think you could have kept hold of him for another season and pointed out that Onana is going to be playing in AFCON, so you've got that run of first-team games there, Premier League games. In addition to that, as I mentioned, you could work out something where you play him in cup matches, because, you know, obviously United are in the Champions League this season, so we wouldn't play in that, but you can say Carabao Cup, absolutely, you can play every game in that if we go quite far in the tournament. FA Cup, you can play in that as well, at least, you know, some of the earlier matches, depending on our opponents. And then, as I said, you've got the Premier League matches too, so there would have been games to play. Maybe Ten Hag felt that he wasn't ready. That might have been part of it as well. Maybe Ten Hag sees him or seen him in training. Maybe Ten Hag thought, nope, I want to have someone that's got more experience than that, which is clearly Bayindir from Fenerbahce, because he's played a lot of games in Turkey. Maybe that's what they were probably looking at as well. I mean, obviously, he would have been, once Kovar, if Kovar had played those games and Onana came back, he would be dropped, obviously. But I still then think, with a season of playing just a little bit frequently, not that often, 5 Premier League games, some cup matches, you could then get more money this time next year. You'd be able to get more than £7 million for Kovar if you'd have just put him into first team action just a little bit. In reality, that's kind of my thoughts on it, but there you go. All right, anyway, let's move on to the original leading story, which was Sofyan Amrabat. I know that's the one that everyone hopes that happens this year. I know that's the one that everyone's looking for. What's the latest with that? Well, the way that it was left last night by Fabrizio Romano was that Manchester United and Fiorentina will hold a new round of talks for Sofyan Amrabat. Last night he said in the next few hours. We don't really have any update as to when those talks actually, if they've happened, what the outcome of those talks were, or anything like that. There were reports last night that Fulham were working on a deal to sign Sofyan Amrabat from Fiorentina, reportedly for about £26 million. That came from Gianluca Damasio. But very quickly it came out that Sofyan Amrabat doesn't want to sign for anyone that isn't Manchester United. Essentially, that's what they want, and that's what he wants, rather. Alfredo Padula had said that Sofyan Amrabat will not be open to signing for any other club until there's the possibility of fulfilling his dream of wearing the Manchester United shirt. It was then reported by the likes of Florian Plettenberg that Amrabat is not going to join Fulham, even if they do agree a deal with Fiorentina, and it was also then reported that Fiorentina and Manchester United are in concrete talks. And just to kind of point out the clubs that Amrabat has turned down over this summer, because you can list them at this point. There's so many. There's obviously Fulham. He's turned down. I'm not going to Fulham. He's refused West Ham. I'm not going to West Ham. He's refused Nottingham Forest. I'm not going to Forest. He refused Al Ali in Saudi Arabia as well. He's turned down a plethora of clubs this summer because the only move he wants is Manchester United. That is it. He has gone on essentially strike. He's separated himself from the Fiorentina squad. He's trained by himself. I think he's changed his representation as well. This is the move he wants. And I posted last night on X that if you look at everything he's done and the sheer determination that he is putting in to get this move, if he shows even half of that on the pitch for Manchester United, he will be a valuable asset. And we know that he will. You know, in a day and age where sometimes we question the desire or the commitment of some players, and we go, you know, do these people really want it? What are their intentions? Do they care? We've you know, that accusation's been thrown at some Man United players over the last few years, right? Do they really care about the results? Do they really care about the fans? Do they really care about Manchester United? This guy cares to the nth degree, to the next level. Honestly, he is doing everything he possibly can to get this deal done. And as I mentioned last night, I think Manchester United owe it to him, frankly, to let him know what the situation is. Is this possible or is this not possible? Because if it's not possible, then his future is elsewhere from Fiorentina, and there are certainly clubs that are interested in him. So there's still hope to get this one done, certainly. Romano has also said, as I mentioned, that United are set to negotiate again with Fiorentina for the Sofyan Amrabat deal. Fulham not involved at the race at this stage. Amrabat only wants to join Manchester United. That's been the case all summer. He won't open up to any other club as long as United are in the mix. I guess the moment that United are kind of out of that race, or maybe it becomes not feasible, that United can't get that deal done, Amrabat's still going to do everything in his power to try and get that done, try and force it through. My concern is with it, honestly, it's 9:15, and look, a breakthrough can happen quickly. It's going to be a loan. I'd be really, really, really surprised if it was a permanent deal, unless something happens with McTominay, and I guess that is possible. But I think it's probably going to be a loan deal, which allows for speed. But they're suggesting that if it's going to be a loan deal, it's going to have to be with an obligation to buy. And how that's going to look, don't know. don't know. And we know certainly one's already happened today. Bayindir's happened today. Reguilon will be announced soon because he signed his contract, completed his medical last night. That's a done deal. I guess the positive looking at those two deals is that they're out the way. They're out the way. So in terms of incomings now, the sole focus for the remaining, how long's left? I mean, what, 13 hours or so? The sole focus is get Amrabat through the door. Can we make this deal happen? Can we find a way to get the finances together? Can we find a way to work out an agreement with Fiorentina? Can we find a way to do a loan? Can we find a way to get that obligation to buy? Can we make this work? And as of right now, who knows? But talks certainly are ongoing as well. Let's put a poll in the chat as well. And it's just, I guess it's a simple one. This one really, isn't it? Is will Manchester United sign Amrabat before the window closes? Caps lock, I'm screaming at you. Will Man United sign Amrabat before the window closes? Question mark. And the poll is in the chat. Yes or no? Oh, it's been a madness already. Nubian. I'll respect the order, but it's already a madness. I mean, it's just, this is a, Nubian to United view.
Here we go!
Terms have been agreed. Medical booked. Minority owner at this point. Unbelievable. Let's go through the super chats. Lil Yo-Yo says, Fiorentina and Man United pillow talking last night. I hope so. No, I don't. I hope they're getting a deal done. That would be quite strange, and I'm not legal. I'm not sure. Aranor says, Owen, what the F is happening to Donny and De Gea? Well, David De Gea, Man United legend, but it's none of our concerns. So at this point, and there's no deadline for him. He's a free agent. He can do anything he wants. When you're a free agent, you can sign whenever. So there's not as much of a rush with David De Gea. Donny, who knows? He was offered to Inter Milan, I think, but there's a here we go for Klaassen from Ajax. So I don't think that one's going to happen for him. Obviously, he was linked to Lorient, but I think they've signed someone too. So that one again, that's not going to happen either. I don't know with Donny van der Beek. That whole situation, I think, is a mess because you look at, we assumed he was going to go on a permanent deal, and it's now deadline day, just about 13 hours or so to go till the window shuts, and he's scrabbling around for a loan. I'd be looking at my agents. I'd be looking at my representatives and saying, why haven't you managed to facilitate this? What have you been doing all window? I think the Real Sociedad deal, the goalpost was shifted with that. It started off as a permanent deal, then turned into a loan, then turned into it's not going to happen, it's off. So Donny is one to keep an eye out for today, but I'd be looking at my agents saying, you have completely fumbled this massively. Absolutely fumbled this. And it's hurt United too. And Man United can't be found completely innocent on this one either, because I was trying to flex about this yesterday, and Ten Hag has an absolute right to be disappointed with how United have operated in terms of exits this summer. Someone posted it last night, I think, in the comments, and it's so true. What must he think? He's come from a club like Ajax, who are so well run, particularly in the transfer market. They are so quick to act. They sell just tremendously well, and they sell early. They get good fees. They get players out the door. They know how to sort of service the market. They know how to get deals over the line. They also know how to get in replacements too. And then Eric must come in here. And maybe last season he went, well, look, it's first season here. It's a bit chaotic. There was things happening. We were going for Frankie. It didn't really work out. Okay. January, he goes, well, look, we didn't have a lot of money. We knew that, fine, but come the summer. And then he must be looking around going, what on earth? Like, what are you guys doing? John, you told me these players were going to leave. Well, big contracts and stuff like that. But you knew that. This isn't a surprise. That's the thing, too. When people use that big contracts and wages thing, yes, it's a factor, but you know that. So you have to adjust your strategy based upon those contracts. You know Harry Maguire's got a big contract. So if you know he's got a big contract, likelihood is we're going to have to pay him off. If you're going to have to pay him off, start those discussions early. Why aren't you starting those discussions early? Or just acknowledge that, hey, we're going to have to take a bit of a hit on this one. It's going to have to be a low transfer fee. Work that kind of stuff out. And that's what it comes back to. It comes back to sort of the chaotic, just lack of planning and just scrambling around. And that's United in this window at the moment. It really is. Nubian Pharaoh again. Good show, bro. Good super chat, bro. Very good. Excellent super chat. Big up, honestly, Nubian Pharaoh. It's not lost on any of us, the support. And every little contribution really does help the channel. And it's more than appreciated. Nubian Pharaoh. I mean, applause in the chat. The other day, I mean, what was it? Was it like 299? Then it was 499. Now 99. Oh, unbelievable. Nubian Pharaoh with the red, with the Manchester United red on deadline day. Big up Nubian Pharaoh, man. And I'm sure the UV community is giving you your well-deserved flowers in the chat as well. Thank you so much. It's really, 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 really appreciated. Vicky's been a member for 12 months. Says, what can we get Owen to get through the day? Well, I don't know. At this point, I don't know. Sleep. Can you give me sleep? Win the lottery. I'll ask Flex for the lottery numbers, considering he can predict everything. After that draw, Champions League draw yesterday, that was a madness as well. But big up Vicky. And Pespian says Sofyan Amrabat will be at AFCON in January as well, so we'll miss him as well if we sign him. Yes, of course, he'll be there too. And you would assume Morocco will probably be one of the favourites as well when it comes to that. Lots of people saying what they can get me. I think I understand what that means now. So I don't know if if I really want.
Like a dirty gal.
I don't. No. Luxil says, can a Carabao? I haven't had a Carabao since the Carabao Cup final, to be honest. I haven't had that. It's all on the monster. That's me. Always on the monster. And we might be partaking in that, certainly. We might have to later on today, because I feel like it's going to be a long one, certainly. So yes, that's the latest when it comes to Sofyan Amrabat. Is talks are ongoing, essentially. Obviously, today's deadline day, so if there's any developments, any talks, he's having a medical, anything like that, I'll be here, Flex will be here, we'll be live, and we'll be covering it. Also, just a bit of a programming update too, because it's the Friday, there's a press conference today too. So Erik ten Hag is going to be talking to the assembled media at Carrington at 1:45. So I'm going to be live at 2 o'clock to go through Eric's questions, answers, responses, all that kind of stuff. We might have some more transfer news then, but obviously if anything happens in between and all that kind of stuff, I'll be here, and we'll let you know anything that happens. We are going to be live as well tonight from 9 to 11 once the transfer window shuts, to go through any last minute deals that go through, which is very likely for United today as well. Hopefully Amrabat will be that one. Reguilon, again, I think will get announced very shortly. Amrabat is the one to look out for, certainly today as well. Let's look at the poll in the chat too before we move on. Over 600 votes. The question was, will Man United sign Amrabat before the window closes? And there's optimism. That's what I like to see. There is optimism from the UV community, because 71% of you say yes, Amrabat will sign for United. Only 29% saying no. And that's the way I'm leaning. that is the way I'm kind of leaning towards it at the moment, purely because I think Amrabat's going to do everything in his power to make it happen. I like that. That is just that is my. I feel like he's going to do everything in his power. I am going to sign for Manchester United by the end of the day, and almost metaphorically, maybe even physically, get Fiorentina in a chokehold, and be like, accept the offer. Let me go to Man United. So at the moment, I'm saying yes, but as time ticks on, and in the absence of news, you do get nervous. David Ornstein did say last night that it was on track. What on track means, I don't know. But he said it was on track, and part of the idea to sign Sergio Reguilon on loan was that he was a cheaper option and gave us the best possible chance to sign Amrabat. So we'll wait and see with that. Saif says, Owen, Saif, yourself and the UV community gave me so much love and encouragement around my masters during pre-season. This morning I officially graduated. Well done. Congratulations to Saif, and much love back, obviously. Congratulations. Well done for completing your masters. Well done for graduating too. And I'm sure the UV community will continue to give you the love and encouragement. Doesn't even matter if you graduated or you completed your masters. There's just love all around in the UV community. But I'm sure they'll pass on the congratulations, the claps, the applause, the flowers, all that fun stuff. That's what the community is all about. That's what the UV community is all about. All about love and appreciation. It's particularly on this day when it might not be like that when it comes to United in the transfer market, certainly. So big up, Saif, congratulations, and thank you very much for the super chat as well. Just a line also before we move on to Reguilon, because it does fall into sort of transfer stuff too, is that it has been reported by Fabrizio Romano that Lazio have been offered the possibility to sign Mason Greenwood from Manchester United in the final hours of the summer transfer window. No decision has been made yet. The manager of Lazio, Maurizio Sarri, he's yet to express his views, reportedly, according to reports in Italy, in relation to signing Greenwood. It's just kind of more an offer at this point. Gianluca Di Marzio also said that there had been an attempt overnight and contacts are in progress regarding him. Lazio are attempting possibly to get Greenwood to sign, but again, that one's kind of up in the air at the moment. So again, keep an eye out, I would suggest, for that one, but that might be something to watch across deadline day. Of course, we know that he's leaving Manchester United by mutual consent, so the question then becomes, he's kind of got to go today, otherwise he's going to be under contract and Man United aren't going to play him. So that's definitely the one that United will want to get done as well. Let's move on to Sergio Reguilon, because as I mentioned, he has signed his Manchester United contract. We've already had one announcement today regarding Bayindir, the backup goalkeeper, officially being announced by United, and this one could be very, 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 very soon in terms of announcement from United. David Ornstein is reporting this morning that Sergio Reguilon has signed his Manchester United contract, and final paperwork is being completed before a move from Spurs is confirmed. Now, he exits Tottenham on a season-long loan. There is no loan fee, no buy option. There is a break clause in January, but the full wages are covered by Manchester United. I did see something from Samuel Lutkers that actually I want to check now, see if I can check this, because I want to make sure that the numbers are accurate in this regarding the wages. So Samuel Lutkers is saying regarding Sergio Reguilon, because United are covering all of his wages. As I mentioned, there's no loan fee, there's no buy option, there's a break clause in January, but United are covering all the wages. According to Samuel Lutkers from the Manchester Evening News, Reguilon's wages at Manchester United will be around £125,000 a week, which to me is seems high. That seems really, really high number, because it had been reported that his wages at Spurs were like somewhere between sort of £50,000 to £80,000 a week. So I'm not sure that is completely accurate in terms of a number. I mean, I can't sit here and say I know more than Samuel Luckhurst on these sort of finer details, but all of the information that I had seen out there prior to him signing for United was that he was on like around 50 to 80 or something like that. So I think I'm not too sure on that number, to be honest with you, because it was widely reported that Marc Cucurella was on 175k a week, and obviously he's got a very long contract at Chelsea, and that was a concern of mine anyway. That's a lot, you're not going to cover all that. That's a big contract to cover. Is that going to affect other ones? So Lucas is saying 125, but considering previous reporting, to me, that doesn't add up. So obviously, people will look at that and go, "That's ridiculous. That's so much money." But it might not be accurate, to be honest with you. I'm not too sold on that one, in all honesty. But look, there's no loan fee regarding anything like that. So we'll wait and see if there's any more information about his wages, because I'm not convinced on that number realistically. Obviously, Reguilon completed his Manchester United medical last night. As I mentioned, he's going to join on a season-long loan. There's no fee, there's no buy option, but they're covering that salary, which again is also somewhat disputed. I kind of spoke about this on Sky this morning, and thank you to people that passed on the nice messages. Very much appreciated. In retrospect, looking at this, I posted last night, and people got quite angry, shock on social media. I posted last night that, look, it is embarrassing. It's embarrassing to sign Sergio Reguilon, because he's Spurs' third choice left back, cast off, didn't play from last season. I think he was at Atletico Madrid on loan last season, and we find ourselves in a situation where we're scrabbling around to try and find money to sign backup players from our rivals that we've kind of bantered opposition fans about. We banter people about Reguilon, we banter people about Cucurella, and then we're sort of having to justify getting them. So look, it is embarrassing. I said that, and you get the response of back the players. Why are you being so negative? It's not. Why are you saying Reguilon shit? You are a disgrace. Some person said that the quote was, "Owen, you bore the piss out of me." I clicked on him. He followed me, which is very strange to follow someone that's pouring the piss out of you. Okay. The point being is, it's not Sergio Reguilon's fault. Of course it's not. He can't believe his luck. He wasn't going to be playing all season. Now he's going to be playing for Manchester United. Good for him. No problem. And I don't blame Sergio Reguilon for that. And I'm also not saying, because that was also a pushback, which was, are you saying we shouldn't sign anyone? Are you saying we shouldn't get left back? Are you saying we should spend 80 million to get João Cancelo? Is that what you're saying? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, if you can't take a step back and look at the bigger picture here, that the way that we are sort of scrabbling around, and the fact that we basically can't afford to do any business because we're broke, and FFP, I don't even believe the FFP thing anymore. I mentioned last night, the FFP fairy takes away all your money. Instead of putting money under your pillow, she takes it away, the FFP fairy, and leaves a note, and it just says, Glazer, and you go, thanks. If you can't see the bigger picture, that the way we're having to scrabble around and we've got no money to do any business on deadline day, that's a massive problem. And I don't begrudge Reguilon when he puts on the red shirt. Of course I support Reguilon. Of course I back him. Back anyone that puts on the red shirt. I was against people booing Harry Maguire in Dublin because I thought it was wrong. I still think it's wrong. And you do be positive about the team when they play on match day. But you can't just turn a blind eye to what is happening at the moment. You can't turn a blind eye to this window and just do the meme, everything's fine, when the club's on fire. And actually, it might not be on fire, but still, the roof's caving in and falling apart and everything's decrepit and old. That's realistically the situation. So, yes, you go, we needed a left back. United are trying to make the best out of a bad situation, and it is unfortunate. Injuries played a part in that. You can't anticipate injuries. I totally understand that. But at the same time, take a step back. Look where United are. Like, look at what United are having to do. If Man United were operated properly and had money to spend, if they found themselves in a situation like this, one, if they invested in a youth academy, a bit like with Man City, they go, it doesn't matter. We've got like 3 left backs that can all play in the Premier League in the youth team. If this was City, they'd be like, no problem, someone comes in. Or you've invested enough in the squad that you've got someone in your squad that, yeah, they might be like a centre back, but they can play left back and it's fine, no problem. A bit like Pep at the moment. He can just shift someone. I'll just put Ake to left back. It'll be fine, no problem. They'd be able to do something like that. We can't do that. Even our sort of square pegs and round hole situation don't work. It's like with Dallo. We're having to put him there, but we're like, that's not sustainable. So take a step back, look at the bigger picture and say, oh my God, what are we doing? And it's a shame. It's sad what we're having to do. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying, someone said, well, do you want to play left back? Clearly not. Clearly. That would be way worse than Sergio Reguilon. We've signed someone at left back. We've binned off Reguilon. It's Owen. And I'm like, I'm not going to be available for 3 months, so I've got to shift a lot of timber on me first. You know, it just nonsense, absolutely nonsense. I have seen the stuff regarding Samuel Luckhurst as well. Let me just get to this because we got some breaking news regarding Sofyan Amrabat as well. This is what it's going to be like, by the way, for deadline day. This is what it's going to be like. So let's have a look at this. Right, according to Samuel Luckhurst from the Manchester Evening News and also Stephen Railston, who also works for the Manchester Evening News, there is a private jet booked from Florence to arrive at Manchester Airport on Friday afternoon, which might be scheduled to take Sofyan Amrabat to England ahead of signing for Manchester United on deadline day. According to Luckhurst, and this is, I suppose, the interesting part of this, Manchester United have not denied the possibility they have organised a private jet scheduled into Manchester Airport this afternoon. So, it must be said, that's positive. That's positive that a plane is booked. But at the same time, I would sort of say don't get too excited or anything like that, because sometimes they have planes on standby anyway. Particularly when they're like, look, it could go either way. It could go either way. Talks are ongoing. And remember, we're up against the clock here. They show the clock, don't they, on the TV all the time when it comes to Sky for deadline day. So they're aware that if there is a breakthrough in this, we need to have everything ready to go, essentially. We need to have everything ready to go at the same time. If we get a breakthrough, there's a plane booked already, he can go. So there's certainly, that's optimistic news, absolutely. Optimistic news, no doubt about that. That United aren't denying the possibility that they've organised a private jet or there is a plane ready. But at the same time, it might just be a case of, well, we've got to have one just in case. Could you imagine the deal fell through? Because, well, yes, brilliant. There's a breakthrough. We agreed talks. Why didn't it go through? We can't book a plane. we didn't think about it. We didn't think about booking that plane. Is there a plane ready? No, it's going to take an hour to do. Shit. Oh, God, we're waiting around. So that is the news coming from Samuel Luckhurst, that there is a private jet booked from Florence to arrive at Manchester Airport this afternoon. It might be scheduled to take Sofyan Amrabat to England ahead of signing for Manchester United, and United are not denying the possibility that they have organised this private jet scheduled into Manchester Airport this afternoon. What is going to be really interesting, certainly, is Ten Hag will be asked about this in the press conference today. Spoiler, he ain't going to say anything. Like, he will. I can tell you the answer now for what it will be to Eric Ten Hag. Eric, what's the latest with Sofyan Amrabat? If we have any news, we'll let you know. Go back, someone else will say, so is Amrabat like a player that you're interested in looking in? If we have any news, we'll let you know. I don't talk about other players. That's what it will be when it comes to Ten Hag, just to preface that. So if you're hoping that Eric's going to sort of spill the beans, very unlikely. You know, a bit like with Ollie when we signed Ronaldo and we sort of finished the press conference. I did it at the time. We did the press conference and it was like, oh my God, we're signing Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't suspect that. But that is a positive indication. I did just say a couple of minutes ago that I was somewhat worried that we had heard that talks were going to be ongoing and there was going to be a new round of talks overnight and that had gone a bit quiet, and sometimes in the absence of any information you grow concerned. But the latest is that a plane may or may not have been booked. That's what we're holding on to at the moment, is a plane may or may not be in Florence going to Manchester, maybe. And they asked United and they didn't deny it. It would be interesting to know what United's response would be, because essentially, peek behind the curtain, what happens is Samuel Luckhurst will have like the comms person or whatever, or the press liaison person, will shoot him a message, give him a call. I've got information that there's a plane booked from Florence to Manchester. What's the latest with that? Well, you know, hang up. So something to keep an eye on. It might be something, it might be nothing, but that is deadline day. That is what encapsulates deadline day: tracking flights. Tracking flights. There may or not be planes booked as well. Keep your eyes peeled. And I think I lean into more, it's a case of things have to be ready to go at any point, because there is confidence that there's going to be a breakthrough in talks. There's confidence that the deal could happen. If that is the case, we need to get Amrabat to Manchester as soon as possible. And it would be naive to leave it up to some form of logistical chance or some kind of logistical hiccup for the deal not to go through. So keep an eye on it, certainly. Super chats, right, super chats. Let me see if I'm caught up with super chats. Ronald says he's on 48k at Spurs regarding Reguilon. I'd seen something similar. I'd seen numbers that said 40, 50, possibly as high as 80, but I didn't see anything that said 125 regarding Reguilon's contract, because for Spurs that's a lot. I mean, remember when Harry Kane signed his last contract with Spurs? That kind of broke their wage structure. Spurs are sort of renowned for players not being on a lot of money. I mean, you have to be a big player. And I think even when Kane signed his last deal at Spurs, it's still, in comparison to like Man United wages, was not that, So I would be stunned if Sergio Reguilon was on 125k a week at Tottenham Hotspur. I just don't see that as feasible. And all of the stuff I'd seen previously suggested it was 50, 40, 80. So to say 125, I think that's quite far off the mark, to be honest with you. But we'll see if we get any more information on it. Kyle says, Reguilon is Spurs' third choice. He's going to be our third choice. What is the problem? Well, again, this is where I go back to, Kyle. And obviously, look, that was kind of the response that people were giving me last night. And I don't have an issue with signing Sergio Reguilon, and it's not his fault. My issue is how the club are being operated, and the fact that that's the kind of profile of player that we have to go after, because again, we're desperate, we're panicking. If Manchester United are run properly and efficiently, even in an injury crisis, you have multifunctional players, you can move into that position and it's not a problem. Or you have such strong and thriving academy that players are on the precipice and they're ready and they've been given first team opportunities. Realistically, the reason he's not gone with Alvaro Fernandez as the person to sort of fill in this role for a while is because he hasn't played a game in the Premier League for Manchester United ever, and that's a big risk just to throw him in. So I think people kind of misinterpret the frustration with, why are you saying Reguilon shit? Why are you not backing the team? Why are you being negative? Because you have to look at how the club is being run. And is it surprising? No, it's not surprising. We know the club's horribly run. We know the club is terrible at transfers. We know we can't sell players. We know all that kind of stuff. But it's still, again, you have to look at the bigger picture. And I think that's what people are sort of missing when when people are sort of frustrated. I think they're missing the bigger picture involved in all of this. My style advisor says, morning Owen, morning my style advisor. How do we know when you are live, as it's going to be a busy day? Have a great weekend and thanks for the content. Love you, bro. Well, I would love to give you some kind of itinerary, but there probably really won't be one today. The times that I can confirm is 2 o'clock, press conference at 1:45. So 2 o'clock, going to be live then doing the press conference reaction. Going to be live from 9 to 11 as the window shuts. And then everything else is kind of going to be a bit ad hoc. Stay tuned and follow all of our social media channels. Get the notifications on. That's the key thing too. Switch the notifications on, then you'll be notified when we go live or if a video gets posted up or anything like that, because it's going to be a busy day, it's going to be a long day, and there might be a lot of emergency lives. So if you haven't already, subscribe, click the notification bell, make sure notifications are turned on whatever device you have, and then you should be informed if we're live. But appreciate the contribution as always from the style advisor there. Red Devils Down Under said, could you imagine Glazers sabotage his transfer window and announce the sale tomorrow? My lord, the madness would be iconic. I mean, honestly, it would be, obviously you'd take us not signing anyone, wouldn't you? You'd take us not signing anyone if it meant the Glazers are leaving tomorrow, but they're not. I said last night, not to put a downer on it all, but just any kind of takeover stuff now, I'm so numb to it, and you so roll your eyes at it, don't you? Whenever, I think the one positive out of it is that those stupid in the know like accounts on social media that have been telling people for nearly a year, Qatar imminent, eyeball emoji, flag, timer. There's only it turns out there is only so many times you can do it before people stop believing you. Because it took a lot. It took more than I think it should. It took, again, like nearly a year of doing it. But finally, people have started to go, they might be full of shit. they might be lying, actually. And turns out they were the whole time. Announcements coming tomorrow. It's coming next week. Deal agreed. Paperwork's been signed. They're just waiting. Money's in escrow. Money's in escrow for the takeover. That's in the account. That'll be coming tomorrow. That'll be coming next week. Slight hold up due to international clearance. Slight hold up with this. Slight hold up. I don't think it ever started, mate. So that's my positive to get out of it, is those accounts have kind of just vanished. Realistically. Where else are we at? Kyle says, apologies, Owen. It was a question for the universe. Agreed that the club has been embarrassing this past week despite the context of Reguilon. Yeah, I mean, look, I think I mentioned it on Sky this morning. I do think United are trying to make the best out of a bad situation, right? When you really look up the ladder of things, the buck does stop with the owners. The buck does stop with the Glazers. If they weren't in charge, I mean, this would be a different situation. We wouldn't be, again, scrambling around. Our academy would be thriving. We would have a squad full of players that really Ten Hag can rely upon. And if there are injury crises, he can tweak things, move things around, all that kind of stuff. Injury crises happen, and you end up sort of getting these emergency loans. But it happens way too frequently with United. I mean, look at, just in sort of recent history, Reguilon, Igalo, Weghorst. You know, look at those people. They've got really no business playing for Manchester United. And that's in sort of recent history. And we have to get in, and we do this all the time, don't we? I've done it. I mean, I'm doing it now. We did it in January. Even with Igalo, we did it, didn't we? Wow, maybe he can do a job, and, you know, maybe he can help out. And, you know, they really want to be here. I'm sure they want to be here. They've never thought they were going to play for United. But that's the way the clubs run, isn't it? That's the way the club operates. And it's sad. It is. James says, morning, Owen. For once, you don't have to go to your room. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Also, why hasn't Donny left yet? The Glazers will never sell us, by the way. I don't know with Donny van de Beek. As I mentioned, I'd be, if I was him, really looking at my representation and saying, why am I here? Like, what is going on with me? Why haven't I left? And I'm sure Erik ten Hag's thinking the same thing. What's going on with Donny? Everyone knew, like, he was going to go. Like, he had a good pre-season as well. Good enough that we thought, you know, clubs would be interested. And he's still here at the moment. I still do think ultimately he'll probably leave. But if he doesn't, I don't know. I really don't. But does it surprise me? No, absolutely not. No, it doesn't surprise me. Let's move on. McTominay. Right, Scott McTominay could, and you put the emphasis on could. This one I just don't really see being likely, but anything's possible at deadline day. McTominay could go to Fulham. Now, Scott McTominay and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg are Fulham's top two targets to replace João Palhinha, who obviously wants to join Bayern Munich. It has been reported that Fulham are not going to sell Palhinha to Bayern Munich unless they're absolutely confident they can get this replacement in. According to Florian Plettenberg, Fulham, who hold interest in Scott McTominay, want to secure this replacement for Palhinha before letting him sign for Bayern. So that is one to watch. I think that it had been reported and put out there previously that given how late it is in the window, given the time that it would take to get a replacement, it would have to take a good offer. But when you've got a club like Fulham, this is where you make your money. This is where you do good negotiation. Fulham likely are going to be letting a really good player go to Bayern Munich today, and it's going to cost Bayern Munich a pretty penny, a lot of money. Some of the numbers that have been quoted for Palhinha, I mean, I don't know how much the suggestion is, but the suggestion is it could be like, I mean, when other clubs had come calling earlier on in the window, it was like, was it 60, 70, 80 million pounds, something like that, a significant amount of money. So if Fulham got that amount of money, that's when United could be like, okay, we said 40 earlier on in the window. Give us 40. Let's do this, and then you turn maybe the Amrabat deal from a loan into a permanent one, or instead of that, you still do the loan with an obligation to buy next summer because you're gonna get him anyway, and you say, who else can we get in? Who else can we get in before the window shuts? So I think if United feel like it's a real possibility, if United genuinely think it could happen. And all of these sort of dominoes fall in the right direction. In addition to talking with Amrabat, they should also be looking around. Who else can we get? Who else can we bring in? Can we do any late business for a striker? Can we do any late business for a midfielder or anything like that? So that one is something to look out for. That is definitely going to be a sort of, that's definitely going to be a sort of the way the dominoes fall on that one. I do have a bit of concern that it might end up being Højbjerg that goes to Fulham, though, because it just makes a bit more sense, doesn't it? Because you look at First of all, it's just the location. Both London clubs, so it wouldn't take that long to travel to do medicals or anything like that. Not that that's too much of a problem. You can do them remotely. It's not too much of an issue with that. But more so that Højbjerg is surplus to requirements. Clearly at Spurs, we were linked with him just a couple of days ago, and Spurs, if they got an offer of 35 million, they'd let him go. United might be in a situation of, if you offered 35 million for Scott McTominay now, would United accept it? And I don't know if they would. I don't. I now would. Before it was 30 and I said no, should negotiate, but there's not a lot of time. There's not a lot of time to negotiate, and I think it would be dependent on, do United feel like that money could be put into getting another player? Is there some mystery midfielder, or is there some mystery other player we potentially could get, but at that short of notice? Because when you're dealing with, it's a bit like with the Reguilon situation, when you're dealing with this close to the window shutting, there's only a select pool of players that are available, and most of the time they tend to be players that are kind of on the outs of their clubs. So unless United sort of feel like, well, there's someone at another club that has a year left on their contract or something like that, we can maybe get them, we can maybe do that deal. We'll wait and see. I'm just seeing in the chat here, Luxil says Taremi for 15 million. I believe he's going to, is it AC Milan? I swear I saw they had a deal agreed for him, for a really small fee, unless they try and, hijack that one. But I think it looks like he might be going to Milan. But just having a look here, just doing a quick Google search, they're saying that they're haggling over it, possibly could collapse. So that one could be there to do, maybe. They're saying that maybe it has collapsed. So if that is the case, there's a player available. I've been saying all window for him. I tell you what, I'm not physically prepared for this deadline day. If it ends up a case, right, well, we obviously signed Bayindir, that's done. We're gonna sign Reguilon. There's a private jet in Florence gonna go to Manchester. Hopefully, that's going to be making Amrabat travel to Manchester to get that deal done. And then they sell McTominay for 35 to 40 million and sign Taremi for 50 million on deadline day. I'm not going to get too excited because that one is hypothetical because we have not been linked to him at all. Has there actually been any links to United with Taremi all summer? Because I feel like that is just one. Like I've said, go get Taremi. Look at his goals last year. Was he top goal scorer in the Portuguese league? And yes, he's old. Was he 31, 32, something like that? But still cheap. And we need a striker still. And you've got 3 striking options there: Martial, Højlund, and Taremi. Or do you put that money into getting a midfielder? Is that what you just look at? This is one for the chat actually. Then, if and this is a big if with McTominay, because I still think ultimately he stays. But if McTominay was to go 35 to 40 million, what do you think United do with that? Do you think United go, right, let's just go and get a midfielder replacement. Let's try and spend that money on a midfielder replacement. Do you think United try and spread it around? Do they try and go for Taremi, get another striker? Do they try and go for a centre-back? We've been linked with Todibo all the way through the window. Varane's injured, not as long as first thought, but do we go for Todibo? Like, where do you think United go with that? Because let's face it, there are several positions that we could and probably should go to. We should get another midfielder, get a striker, need a centre-back as well. There's multiple places. It just, I guess, depends on what priority you probably look at. Or, to be honest, no, United, they would just sell him and go, we've brought in Amrabat on loan, so it's fine, replaced. And people would go, you've got money you're sitting on now. Unless it's kind of with the mindset of, yeah, but January, we will spend that money. Like, unlike last year, when we didn't have any money in January, we do have money in January that we can spend this time around, and we can assess things then. We'll let Reguilon go because we'll use the break clause. So we might look at the fullback situation then, or come January, we might look at another midfielder, or we might look at a striker. And also, by that point, we've got more time. We can sort of, teams will be more open and willing to negotiate at that point because they can get replacements. Is that what they do, or does it need to be done now? Let me know your thoughts about that. That's quite an interesting one. But I'm leaning towards McTominay not happening, to be honest with you. Where am I at when it comes to super chats? James says, if he stays, will Erik ten Hag reintegrate Donny? Possible. Well, look, if he stays, you use him. You have to, because we need players, we need bodies. So if Donny does stay and ultimately not go, then I would say yes, reintegrate him, because we will need that. Romano's just tweeted about Amrabat. Right, let me read this out very quickly. So Vegeta's been a member for 14 months, says, Owen, all I need is the reckless button because this club is killing us slowly. I feel so humiliated at the moment to be a fan. Well, you asked for it. You know me, I always like to try and give the UV community what they want.
Fucking reckless! That's fucking reckless!
Only gonna give me yellow.
But we're live, and the thing is, when you're live, is you can react to news in real time. Sofyan Amrabat, we've got a tweet from Fabrizio Romano. This is the latest, what Romano has said. Manchester United will bid again for Sofyan Amrabat. Decision made, up to Fiorentina then. Amrabat has no plans to join Fulham or any other club despite links. Man United is his priority since June. It's been very clear also in the last 24 hours, he wants United. So, kind of the same, really. It's one of those sort of Romano ones where there's a little bit of new information and the rest is kind of the same, what he said previously. But the point is, he's saying United are going to bid again for Amrabat. There is going to be another bid going in, which is curious because he said that we had never bid in the first place. He said before, remember? So, if you're not familiar with kind of the way things have gone the last couple of days, is there were reports from The Athletic that United put a loan bid in. And the loan bid, to be honest, could be described as shit, basically. It was rubbish. It was 2 million euros, 1 million euro up front, and another million was going to come after January, but there's possibly going to be a break clause. So Fiorentina would only be guaranteed 1 million euros. That was very quickly rejected, according to The Athletic. Romano then came out later on in the day and said, no loan bid was ever put in. These were just informal talks. Manchester United are preparing an official bid, an official proposal. I guess this is the official proposal for what he's referring to, which is that United are going to put a bid in for Amrabat. We still don't really know what this bid is going to be. We don't know if it's going to be a loan bid. We don't know if it's going to be a permanent bid. The likelihood is loan, obligation to buy. They'll want a loan fee. Obviously, they'll want his wages covered as well. But I would assume that this is going to be sort of United's somewhat final proposal for Amrabat. Basically, of like, this is the best we can do. This is the best that we can afford. This is what we want to do here. This is what we're going to try and do. So that's the latest of what Romano is saying. Once again, Manchester United will bid again for Sofyan Amrabat. The decision is made. It's up to Fiorentina then. Amrabat, and this is what we've got going for us at this point, has no plans to join Fulham or any other club despite the links to them. Manchester United has been his priority since June. He's been very clear also in the last 24 hours he wants United. So he's also said to Fiorentina again and reaffirmed his stance, I only want to go to United. Fiorentina, make this deal work because I'm not going anywhere. I'm not accepting anything else. You can accept deals with Fulham. You can accept deals with Forest. You can accept deals with West Ham. You can accept deals with Saudi clubs. I'm not going there. The only place I'm going is Manchester United. That is my priority. That's the place I want to go. I want to go to Manchester United. That is what Fabrizio Romano is saying. And here's hoping with the news that a private jet is booked in Florence to go to Manchester, possibly this afternoon. Here's hoping that this bid will be accepted by Fiorentina and possibly we can get something later on. You would hope if talks have been ongoing, informal and formal, the way United tend to do it, isn't it? They talk to the club. They talk to the person they're negotiating with. What would you like? Here's what we're thinking. What would you be willing to compromise on? How much money are you looking for this? How much money are you looking for that? If these talks have taken place and then United are comfortable with this bid being accepted, one would hope that if they put a bid in, they're confident it would be accepted. Because they're not going to put one in out of let's hope, let's see what they say. You would hope that with these talks that Romano was talking about, the bid that United put in officially, they're like, this will get accepted. So keep an eye on that certainly as well. We've got nearly 2,300 people watching, still less than 500 likes. If you haven't already, click that like button, see if we can get to 500, and be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner. As I mentioned, we've got a busy day coming, and I feel like I'm going to be live for 1 million hours, which is good because that means United are doing business today, and we need to do business today. Need to get Amrabat. Obviously, it's already been announced that we've signed Bayindir. It's going to be announced that we're going to be signing Reguilon. That's going to happen. And anything else certainly is possible. Stranger things have happened on deadline day. No doubt about that. So if you haven't already, click the like button. Be sure to subscribe too. Let me just see this poll that's been up for over 40 minutes. Over close to 1,800 votes. Over 1,800 votes. And 70% of you say, yes, you do think Manchester United will sign Sofyan Amrabat before the window, closes. And maybe that's based on the news that we just got there, the private jets, all that kind of stuff. There is certainly optimism there. But as people say, look, nearly 1,800 votes, less than 500 likes. I mean, kind of. I don't want to be, I don't want to be that guy, but, kind of, well, kind of, sort of a bit.
Fucking Reguilon! That's fucking Reguilon! Fuck off!
Yeah, as Alex says, the math ain't maffin'. Yeah, one of those ones. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for tuning in this morning. What a crazy hour it's been, and this is just the start. I will be with you all throughout the day. The next planned one, as I mentioned, is 2 p.m. for the press conference reaction. Erik ten Hag's talking to the press at 1:45, so I'll be with you at 2 p.m. Chances are, could be with you before then, regarding news, here we goes, medicals, announcements, all that kind of stuff. So stay tuned, folks, stay tuned. But I appreciate everyone that's tuned in this morning, and we've got a long day ahead of us, folks, and you know what we got to do? We've got to believe. I'm out of here. Have a good one. Peace.